Hi friends, my name is Jo and welcome back to my Bookish Corner. We are leaving for Florida tomorrow and you know what that means. A week of books and I can't wait. I have my e-reader loaded up and then I have a few paper books just in case the e-reader doesn't work well in the sun. So right now, I'm going to take you through the books that I plan to read over the week, and then I'll bring you along for a fun vacation filled with sunshine and beaches and ocean. So grab a drink, get cozy, and let's talk books! First, the three paper books that I have are In the Veins of the Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy. I think that this has something to do with a siren. I don't know a ton about it, and I kind of want to keep it that way and just go in blind. So, excited for this one. Fantasy, sirens, ocean feels very, it's a dark beach vibe, but still kind of a beach vibe because it has the ocean. So we'll go with it. We have The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. I was actually gifted this last year by my husband and just didn't end up reading it during the summer. And I feel like this is a very summer book, so I've been waiting to read this one. I've also heard that Ellen Hildebrand is quintessential beach reads, so I have some of her books loaded up on the e-reader as well. And then we have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which I was gifted for Christmas. I've heard that Kristen Hanna makes people cry, so we'll see if we read this one, because I don't really know if I want to be crying on vacation, but also like a book that makes you cry is a really good book. So we'll see if we read this one. And then loaded up, I have a Kobo. I actually don't know what version of Kobo I have, but it is a Kobo. I have a collection on my Kobo titled Florida, and it's all the books that I plan to read while I'm in Florida. So I'm just gonna quick run through these. We have Edenbrook by Julianne Donaldson. That one I have on loan from the library, and I think it's supposed to take place in the same era as like Jane Austen type books, but it's obviously written by a modern author, so we'll see how that goes. Then I have The Summer Nanny by Holly Chamberlain. That one just has a beach on the cover and was recommended to me on Kobo Plus, which I'm trying out my free trial for this week. So maybe we'll try that one. We'll see. I have Accidental Magic by Iris Beaglehole. I basically went through my want to read list and checked to see which books were on Kobo Plus and downloaded as many of those as I could. Once and Future Witches by Alex Harrow. I really enjoy Alex Harrow's writing, so I'm very excited for that one. Tears of the Wolf and Dangerous Assassin by Elizabeth Wheatley. I have never read something by her, but I think that I would really like her vibe. I've been wanting to read these for a while. Both of those are first books in a series, so if I love them, I will probably get the rest. A midnight pastry shop called... I'm gonna butcher this. A midnight pastry shop called Hwawolden by Lee Onwa. I did my best. We have The 1 Month Boyfriend and the Hookup Equation by Roxy Noir. I think I've read some of her stuff before for just light reading. These were on Kobo Plus, so I figured I'd try them. We have Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I am very excited for that one. I've heard lots of good things. I recently read the 9 Goblins novella by T. Kingfisher, and I really loved their writing, so I'm excited to start the Paladin series. Then we've got A Bunch by Ellen Hildebrand, The Blue Bistro, Barefoot, The Love Season, and The Beach Club. They're just all beach vibes, so I really hope I enjoy her writing. I loved The Academy by Ellen Hildebrand, and I think her daughter, I want to say Shelby Cunningham, but I haven't read any of her beach books yet, so excited to try those. I have Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. That one is also on loan from the library. My hold just happened to come due this week. Then I have Christina Lauren, The Paradise Problem. Again, that one was also on loan from the library. The hold happened to come available this week. Then I have 1984 by George Orwell because it was 99 cents, and I figured maybe I'd want a little more heavy reading after all these beach reads. I have Beach Read by Emily Henry, Happy Place by Emily Henry, and People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, because when I was doing a little bit of research looking for beach reads, her name came up a lot, so I figured I'd try her. The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hilderbrand, and then Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. So lots of varying options here. We have some beach reads, happy romances, we have some quite a bit of fantasy, we have some just like slice of life books. I'm really excited to get into these, really excited to start reading. Nine Goblins by T. Kingfisher was actually supposed to be a Florida read, but I was just too excited to start reading and ended up reading that one yesterday. So those are all of my planned reads. Since I do have Kobo Plus, I could easily add more to the Kobo, should I wish. I will, of course, take you along as I read them and give you my thoughts as I'm going through each of the books, so can't wait to get started. I'm gonna go finish the last of the packing and then get ready to go.
Day one here in Florida. It's about 7 a.m. It's like 6:50. I wanted to get up to see if I could catch any sort of sunrise. It was a bit hazy last night, so I'm not sure what the sunrise will look like this morning, but it's supposed to start at like 7:10. So yesterday we flew in. On the flight I read Edenbrook, and I did actually finish that on the flight. I gave it a 2.5. It felt like it was trying a little bit too hard to be Jane Austen. And I love Jane Austen, but it felt like some scenes were literally taken out of her books. And simultaneously, it just wasn't at that level for me. So it felt very disjointed, because some of it felt so familiar because it felt just like a Jane Austen scene, and then some of it felt so modern that it didn't fit in the era it was supposed to be in. The story was still very, the love story was still very physical and physically described, which is something that I love that the Jane Austen books don't necessarily have. The love stories are completely emotional. There is no physicality to them, which of course there's a time and place for both. Love has physical aspects, but I think that when that's removed, you have to put in so much more work to show the emotional aspects of it. And so I love that part of Jane Austen. And it felt like it was missing that. I did think that I might DNF it in the first half and then just ended up finishing it because it read pretty quickly. All in all, 2.5 stars. Then I read a midnight pastry shop called Holdang. Let me check. How do I say that? A midnight pastry shop called Hwawoldang. I should really look up how to pronounce that. That one I gave, I think, 3.5 stars in my rating. I really enjoyed it. It was a very fun read. It felt like the translation still captured some of the beauty in the writing instead of being quite so literal as some other translated books that I've read. So there were still almost lyrical aspects to the writing. I know that there are better words for that, but I can't find them right now. That made it feel like it wasn't even translated. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And the story itself was very interesting. Basically, well, I don't want to spoil any of it. Like, I feel like you kind of just need to read it and figure it out as you go along. But it flowed very well, even though a lot of the parts of it were pretty disconnected. And I really enjoyed how they worked that all together. I really enjoyed that one. It just didn't give me that, like, amazing feeling that, like, my 4 and 5 star reads do. So I had a good time. I enjoyed it, but wasn't necessarily at that level for me. And so I finished that yesterday too. And then we went and got dinner, and Cam and I walked on the beach for a little while. We came back and just hung on the patio and played in the pool for a little bit. Pools make me feel like a child, and so I will play in them. I love pools. So we did that for a little while. I think today we're gonna go to the farmer's market. It's Sunday, and Siesta Key has a farmer's market on Sundays. So we're gonna go to that, hopefully get some coffee, and I'll probably start another book. We'll probably spend lots of time on the beach. I already have my base layer of sunscreen on because this girl does not want to look like a tomato this week. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I feel like I just have so much joy and sunshine and the green and the ocean. Until we go to dinner. Cam is getting ready right now. Wanted to check in. I started reading Beach Read by Emily Henry. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with the characters. I love the depth that they have to them, and they're both authors, and I really enjoy the kind of almost
breaking of the fourth wall as they're talking about the romance genre and women's fiction and what the experience is like for a male author versus a female author and all those kinds of aspects of the writing industry and the publishing industry and all that kind of stuff. So that's a really fun little piece of it. But I really love the depth that there is to the book. I feel like I was getting a little tired of some of the romance books because, especially the Hallmarky, rom-com-y kind of ones, it felt like I was reading the same story with different names over and over again. And this feels like an entirely new story. So that's very exciting to me, and I'm very engaged and intrigued because it feels like something new that I haven't read yet. So I'm really enjoying that. I think I have about a quarter of it left, and I'm nervous because it feels like, they have the big conflict and then they resolve, but there's enough left of the book that it can't be fully resolved. Like, there's definitely another shoe is going to drop. Like, something's got to happen, something's got to give. So I'm hoping that it's not like a miscommunication or something like that, because I hate it when that happens. So far, the communication has been great. Like, stuff happens, but they talk about it. And if there's problems, it's not just because they had feelings and then we're just like ignoring them or miscommunicating because of it. That is another reason that I'm really enjoying the book. But I think we're gonna head to dinner soon. So hopefully, I'm thinking I'll probably finish Beach Read today. I will let you know when I rate it and talk to you soon. I swam across, I jumped across for you.
Finished Beach Read by Emily Henry this afternoon. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars just because there were certain parts that I wish had gone slightly differently, and it didn't make me super emotional. It was just kind of a fun read. I think Cam and I are gonna do an evening beach walk soon, probably for the sunset, which is shaping up to be gorgeous. So that should be pretty fun. I don't know what our plans are for tomorrow, if we even have any. I haven't started a new book yet. I don't know what I'm gonna move on to next. I don't know if I'll start one tonight. It might just be a kind of chill, relaxing night, maybe watch a show, maybe make some popcorn, so we shall see.
Hi, yep, it's Tuesday. I thought I'd do a quick update. I started The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren yesterday, and then I finished it today. I really enjoyed that one. I liked Christina Lauren's writing. The romance and the relationship felt really fleshed out, and the characters felt pretty real, even for the fact that one was, like, disgustingly rich. And I like the way she addressed the difficulties of, like, being an average person and entering this separate realm of people that are disgustingly rich, and like how difficult that can be and what that kind of looks like and just that kind of stuff. I thought that was super interesting. Last night we had dinner at the Siesta Key Oyster Bar, which is kind of funny because we didn't get oysters. We had a buffalo bacon salmon fish dip, which was delicious, and then I had the shrimp and grits, spicier than I expected, but still very yummy. Then this morning we walked downtown and got Parlor Donuts, which was delicious, and they had lots of like really fun flavors. The coffee was pretty average, I would say, but the donuts were pretty great, and it's a donut place, not a coffee place, so. We came back and I've just been reading on the patio. I want to give my skin a little break from constant sunscreen today. So during this hottest part of the day with the most sun, I'm just kind of vibing on the patio. I think I'm going to start Dangerous Assassin. I don't feel burnt out on the romances yet, and they do make for very good beach reads, but I also don't want to burn myself out on the romances. So I'm gonna do a fantasy real quick and see how I feel. I think tonight we are getting dinner in Sarasota instead of on Siesta Key, and then we'll probably do an evening walk.
This morning we went to an acai bowl place. I got a bowl with strawberries and mango and granola, and Cam got pineapple, coconut flakes, and banana. I successfully ate that without spilling any of it on my shirt, which I was so proud of myself. And then we stopped at Mojo Rising and I got a coffee. I got coconut white chocolate, which was delicious, and I spilled coffee right down the front of my shirt, which was great. Super fun. I'm hoping it's not too noticeable anymore, but yeah, that's what I did this morning. And then we took a walk along the beach back to our unit, and I've just been reading since then. So I'm trying to remember what books I've talked about with you guys, because I've read quite a few more now. Okay, so right now I am about 30% into Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I do really enjoy the writing itself of T. Kingfisher, but the romance aspect, it feels like the two main characters are really obsessed with this idea of like, this other person couldn't like me, I'm not likable, somebody couldn't be attracted to me, and that just like, that kind of self-deprecation isn't my favorite in romance stories. Like, I get feeling self-conscious, but when I'm 30% into the book and that's still the main obstacle for the characters getting together and something else hasn't come up, that gets a little old a little quickly. But I am enjoying the story aspect and the writing aspect. It's a romance, so it's tough that the relationship is the hardest part for me, but I like the characters themselves. They're very fun. Yesterday I finished Dandrith's Assassin. I gave that 3 stars. I was pretty disappointed because I really wanted to love it, but the writing was really repetitive and there were sentences and descriptions that kept being used over and over that to me didn't make a lot of sense, so it was hard to see them being used again and again. It felt like it wasn't super polished, like it needed another round of editing, that like there was a lot of repetition and the writing felt like maybe a second draft kind of thing. And I felt like the plot moved way too quickly, the relationship moved way too quickly. The plot itself and the world were very interesting, but it felt way too fast. Like, it felt like it should have been spread out longer, either a longer book or spread over 2 books. I know it's a series, but it just felt like it happened way too quickly. Everything was too fast. Like, you can't possibly love someone that quickly. You can't possibly, like, all of this stuff is happening too fast for it to feel realistic. And it's fantasy, I know it's not realistic, but like the relationship aspect, the character aspect is still supposed to feel realistic, and it all just felt like it was going way too fast. For that, I finished The Paradise Problem, which I think I already talked to you guys about a little bit. I did give that one 4 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I did really like it, and I think I would read more Christina Lauren for sure. I think that's all the ones that I have read. Other than that, today, I don't know if we have many plans. I would love to just go sit in the sun and read. I know tonight we're going to a fancier dinner, so that's exciting. I have a dress I'm gonna wear for that. I've really been loving the like coastal warm fits. I'm really excited to just wear the warm fits all summer. They are my favorite. I feel like in winter, I really just spend my life in big sweatshirts and sweatpants, and really that's all I wear. And in summer I get to play around and have a lot more fun with what I wear. So that's been really fun this week, and I can't wait to continue that once I get home for farmers markets and stuff like that. So anyway, I think I'm gonna go have some food.
got back from a fancy dinner. I had salmon with risotto and it was delicious. We fly out tomorrow, I think around noon, maybe 1 o'clock. So we'll be packing up and then probably just heading to the airport in the morning. Okay, so if I didn't talk about it, I finished Paladin's Grace and I gave that 3 stars. I really enjoyed T. Kingfisher's writing. I think I didn't get like super sucked into the story. And then I went right into Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher and I enjoyed that one more. I rated it a 3.75 at the end. The romance was second place to the like mystery plot in that one, and I really enjoyed our main character. She felt very unique in a lot of her attributes, and that was very fun to not just have like the standard fantasy female main character that follows the same format as a lot of others. So that was fun. I thought that the mystery plot was very interesting. Once I finished Hemlock and Silver, I moved on to Happy Place by Emily Henry. And that was a much tougher read for me. I read that all today, this afternoon mostly. And while I enjoyed it, it was also like I was borderline teary for most of it, just kind of like emotional. It was very emotional and a lot of it felt very bittersweet. And like you don't get the resolution until the very end, and like you're not entirely sure where it's gonna go. So I was really stringing along like I want to finish this before dinner so that I don't go into dinner completely focused on this book and just thinking like what's gonna happen. I was glad I finished it before dinner. I gave that one 4 stars. I liked the characters and the depth. I think there were just a few pieces missing for the full like 5-star feel, but I really did enjoy how she kind of wove everything together and the way that it was about the main character's relationships with everybody, not just the male main character, but her friends, her family, all of that. So I think that that was a really interesting read. Very different from Beach Read, which was very fun because sometimes you read authors' books and they all kind of start to feel the same. But I thought that the two Emily Henry books that I read were very different, and I enjoyed them both. I might start another book tonight, and I will definitely read on the plane tomorrow. This is probably going to be my last actual speaking update. There might be a few more just clips of the island before we leave. Thanks for coming along for my little vacation and my vacation reads, and I'll talk to you guys soon.